The implications of this are frankly nothing short of historic. Over 100 documents that we released on Friday really detail and provide evidence of how this treasonous conspiracy was directed by President Obama just weeks before he was due to leave office, after President Trump had already gotten elected. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue that is so serious it should concern.
Barack Obama built his reputation on speeches polished to perfection, but Tulsi Gabbard takes a hammer to that shine. She rips away the careful glow, exposing the contradictions, the hypocrisies, and the empty promises that held his presidency together. What was marketed as transformation now looks like a slick sales pitch in retrospect, and Tulsi dismantles it with surgical precision. No soft punches, no careful wording, just a straight demolition of the myth that Obama was anything more than a polished politician peddling hope on borrowed time.
Director Gabbard, give me your response to what we heard from former President Obama there. He's saying that none of this makes any sense, that this is a distraction. What do you say to that?
It's the art of deflection coming from former President Obama, as well as his friends who are still in Congress today, and Senator Warner and Congressman Jim Himes, really all basically saying that exact same.
Tulsi Gabbard doesn't just criticize Barack Obama. She carves him up like a surgeon swinging a sledgehammer. This isn't polite disagreement. It's an unmasking. The man who once floated on charm and half-smiles now looks like a stage magician caught mid-trick. Mirrors shattered, wires dangling, rabbits refusing to appear. Tulsi doesn't play softball. She strips the shine off every hollow phrase, every contradiction, every so-called legacy achievement, exposing them for what they were all along. Branding with a presidential seal slapped on top.
Because it has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. What we saw occur here, as the documents we released detailed, was that we had a sitting president of the United States and his cabinet and leadership team, quite frankly, who were not happy with the fact that President Trump had won the election, that the American people had chosen Donald J. Trump to be the next president, commander-in-chief of the United States. And so they decided that they would do everything possible to try to undermine his ability to do what voters tasked President.
Because it has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. What we saw occur here, as the documents we released detailed, was that we had a sitting president of the United States and his cabinet and leadership team who were not happy with the fact that President Trump had won the election, that the American people had chosen Donald J. Trump to be the next president and commander-in-chief of the United States. And so they decided they would do everything possible to undermine his ability to fulfill what voters had tasked him to do. The myth of Obama as the smooth-talking savior collapses under Tulsi's dismantling. She rips apart the illusion of hope and change, revealing that behind the polished speeches stood a politician no different than the rest, except more skilled at persuading people he was above the swamp while thriving in it. Obama's sharpest strength wasn't leadership, it was performance. And Tulsi makes that undeniable, roasting him as the ultimate political marketer whose product expired long before anyone confessed it.
That was an inconvenient truth. The President's Daily Brief article was pulled. It has never been published until we released it about a week and a half ago. Instead, this new intelligence assessment was ordered by President Obama that contradicted directly every other intelligence assessment that had been published prior to the election, as well as assessments that had been pushed forward after the election. Again,
she points to his foreign policy blunders with the precision of a sniper. The endless wars, the drone strikes, the Nobel Peace Prize that aged like milk left in the sun, all of it dragged under harsh light. Obama, who sold himself as the antidote to George W. Bush, ended up writing chapters of foreign policy that made Bush's mistakes look like rehearsals. Tulsi doesn't allow him to hide behind excuses of inherited chaos. She underscores that he didn't just inherit, he expanded, escalated, and then grinned through press conferences as if charm could wipe away the blood of civilian casualties.
On.
That's a very disrespectful attack on the American people who deserve the truth. They deserve to have faith and trust in the integrity of our democratic republic, which has been undermined by President Obama through his direction of this manufactured fake intelligence document, knowing that it was filled with lies.
Like when she got into office, you realize like you're not really in control of everything because there's another person who's in control of each individual.
Then comes his domestic record, a showcase of branding without backbone. Obamacare, once praised as a healthcare revolution, exposed itself as a messy compromise that catered to insurers more than patients. Tulsi tears into it, stressing that his so-called bold reform left millions trapped in a broken system. Hope and change? More like hold and charge, hold your breath, and charge your premiums.
You believe that any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former President Obama?
Correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this.
And then there's the economy. Obama's loyalists love to claim he saved America from collapse, but Tulsi rips that story to shreds. Saved who? Wall Street, the banks, the corporations. The same gamblers who wrecked the system in 2008 walked away with bailouts. Regular Americans got lectures about responsibility while footing the bill. Obama wasn't the people's champion. He was the elite's insurance policy. Tulsi maps it out like a crime scene. Workers weren't rescued, they were abandoned. A president who preached transparency spied on journalists, who promised equality but cozied up to Silicon Valley oligarchs, who vowed to heal divisions but left the nation angrier, poorer, and more fractured than ever.
Doesn't actually address the issue that was revealed in great detail in the over 100 documents that we released last week and the documents that we will be releasing later this week that point to the undeniable fact. The intelligence community had one assessment, that Russia did not have the intent or capability to try to impact the outcome of the U.S. election leading up to Election Day. The same assessment was made after Donald Trump was elected by the American people as president in 2016, defeating Hillary Clinton. And it wasn't until after that pulled President's Daily Brief document that the Principals Committee was called in the National Security Council, and President Obama then directed Obama's DNI James Clapper to lead the effort to create this new intelligence community assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow attempted to influence the outcome of the U.S.
The real damage comes from Tulsi's steady dismantling of Obama's hypocrisy. He campaigned against endless wars yet dropped bombs in 7 nations. He promised unity yet stoked division when it served him. He claimed to fight for the middle class while keeping the donor class seated at the head of the table. Tulsi holds up the mirror, and the reflection isn't hope. It's the face of a salesman America bought too easily. She even torches the post-presidency glow-up. The speeches, the Netflix contracts, the staged image of a sage elder statesman. Tulsi strips it bare. Obama didn't retire with dignity. He monetized power, turning public service into a brand empire. It's hard to preach selflessness while pocketing 6-figure corporate checks, but that's his legacy. Tulsi makes sure there's no illusion left.
The timeline is absolutely remarkable. And then this article from the New York Times, the day that President Obama decided that this would be the narrative, they even run it with a photo of him. It's shameless. December 9th, stating that their sources are from the administration, and it's already the pre-baked narrative that Russia helped Trump, even though the intelligence community hadn't done their assessment yet.
That's right. Again, very
How's that possible, Director?
They got the message about what the narrative was supposed to be. They then reached out to their friends in the mainstream media to start to plant those seeds so that when this assessment came out, it would not be seen as something shocking or as contradictory.
The reaction to Tulsi's roast is nothing short of explosive. Supporters hail her for breaking the unspoken rule, for daring to say aloud what many have quietly suspected, that Obama's legacy was built on marketing, not substance. Critics recoil, horrified that anyone would tarnish the golden boy of modern liberalism. Yet even they can't dismiss the bite of her words, because the cracks she points to are undeniable. Tulsi underscores how the man who branded himself as above politics left his own party in shambles. Under Obama, Democrats lost more than 1,000 seats nationwide. State legislatures flipped red, governorships slipped away, and Congress swung the other direction. For all the talk of yes we can, the result was no we didn't. The irony is brutal. The president who promised to build a movement actually presided over one of the steepest collapses in party power in modern history. Tulsi's framing is devastating. Obama wasn't the architect of renewal. He was the face on the poster while the foundation crumbled. That's not hope and change. That's hope dissolved and change reversed.
I've had candid conversations with Tulsi Gabbard about what it was like.
It's a disservice to the American people that former President Obama's office and others who are criticizing the transparency that is being delivered by releasing these documents. They are doing a disservice to the American people and trying to deflect away from their culpability in what is a historic scandal.
She's a person, tries to be friends with everybody, tries to reach across the aisle. She's got that whole aloha spirit.
The answer to that statement can very clearly be found throughout all of the documents that we have released, showing that Russia took action to try to sow discord in the election, but showed no preference for or against any singular.
And she doesn't let up. Tulsi tears into Obama's arrogance, the smugness that dripped from every teachable moment, every thinly veiled jab at critics he dismissed as too dumb to understand his brilliance. He wasn't just president, he was self-anointed preacher, sermonizing to the country while breaking his own commandments. Tulsi flips the script entirely. Obama's legacy isn't inspiration, it's self-promotion. His defenders still cling to him as the symbol of competence, the antidote to Trump. But Tulsi demolishes that illusion. She lays out how Obama didn't prevent Trump. He prepared the ground for him. His hollow promises, his safe compromises, his refusal to deliver real change left millions disillusioned. That disillusionment became Trump's opening. Her argument cuts deepest here. Trumpism didn't emerge in spite of Obama. It thrived because of him. Obama didn't close the door on populist backlash. He built the hallway for it to march through. Tulsi makes it brutally clear. Obama didn't stop Trumpism. He incubated it.
To get on that, the president yesterday, you've inferred that the former president helped lead a coup. Based on what you now see, do you believe President Obama is guilty of treason?
I'm leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I'm not an attorney, but as I've said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long.
Exactly. That's the sharp edge of Tulsi's takedown. It isn't a cheap roast or a throwaway insult. It's a historical indictment where Obama's myth collapses not under ridicule, but under the crushing weight of his own record. As Tulsi stacks the evidence one failure on top of another until the mountain topples and buries the legend of hope and change. And by the time she's finished, Obama isn't the golden icon of a generation but exposed as what he always was, a smooth-talking politician who left America fractured, frustrated, and far less united than he promised. And the aftermath is telling because Obama loyalists rushed to his defense parroting the same excuses. He inherited a mess. Congress blocked him. Republicans sabotaged everything. Yet in the face of Tulsi's relentless dissection, those lines ring hollow, recycled, almost laughable. And what lingers isn't the glow of Obama's speeches but the smoke of Tulsi's demolition, as she strips him of the aura, leaving only the man, not untouchable, not saintly, and certainly not above criticism. Just another politician who sold dreams and cashed the checks until finally someone had the guts to burn the script.
This is an issue that is important to every single one of us as Americans. This is not a partisan issue. It has to do with the integrity and the strength of our democratic republic. And it lays out this over 100 documents that you're referencing that I released, declassified and released, spells out in great detail exactly what happens when you have some of the most powerful people in our country directly leading at the helm, President Obama and his senior-most national security cabinet, James Comey, John Brennan, James Clapper, and Susan Rice and others, essentially making a very intentional decision to create this manufactured, politicized piece of intelligence with the objective of subverting the way.
Obama isn't just mocked, he's dismantled. His speeches, his smiles, his image, his carefully staged legacy all lie in ruins as Tulsi rips away the illusion, exposing him as the emperor with no clothes, a politician with polish but no substance, a brand without a product. And while for years people tiptoed around the truth, Tulsi smashes it wide open, hammer in hand, shattering the glass so completely that the hollow core can never be hidden again. And though defenders scramble to rebuild the myth, the cracks are permanent because once the emptiness is revealed it can't be unseen, which is why her assault isn't just comedy or criticism but a reckoning. A firestorm that consumes the carefully crafted story and leaves behind only the raw truth that Barack Obama was never the transformative leader he sold himself as but simply another politician wrapped in the packaging of hope and stamped with the label of change. And by the time Tulsi is done, that truth becomes undeniable, made brutal by her refusal to let his defenders hide behind cosmetics like how presidential he looked. Because posture and wardrobe never fed the hungry, never healed the broken system, and certainly never saved a collapsing middle class. Obama isn't just mocked, he's dismantled. His speeches, his smiles, his image, his carefully staged legacy all lie in ruins as Tulsi rips away the illusion, exposing him as the emperor with no clothes, a politician with polish but no substance, a brand without a product. And while for years people tiptoed around the truth, Tulsi smashes it wide open, hammer in hand, shattering the glass so completely that the hollow core can never be hidden again. And though defenders scramble to rebuild the myth, the cracks are permanent because once the emptiness is revealed it can't be unseen, which is why her assault isn't just comedy or criticism but a reckoning. A firestorm that consumes the carefully crafted story and leaves behind only the raw truth that Barack Obama was never the transformative leader he sold himself as but simply another politician wrapped in the packaging of hope and stamped with the label of change. And by the time Tulsi is done, that truth becomes undeniable, made brutal by her refusal to let his defenders hide behind cosmetics like how presidential he looked. Because posture and wardrobe never fed the hungry, never healed the broken system, and certainly never saved a collapsing middle class.
You're referring all of our documents to the Department of Justice for the purpose of accountability and action. No one, no matter who they are, no matter how high up they are or how powerful they may be, no matter who the intelligence officials or professionals were who were a part of this treasonous conspiracy.
Tulsi drills into Obama's obsession with image, showing how his presidency functioned more like performance art than leadership, with speeches delivered like a Broadway star hitting perfect lines while the real crises, foreclosures, stagnant wages, and hollowed-out towns, only grew worse behind the curtain, and she makes it clear that his calm demeanor on camera was never compassion but camouflage for cold decisions that served elites, which becomes even clearer when she skewers his love affair with Silicon Valley, where he played host to tech titans like royalty, smiling in photo ops with CEOs who were quietly laying the foundation for monopolies that now dominate American life. And while workers lived paycheck to paycheck, Obama wasn't resisting the system but greasing its gears, keeping the machine running smooth for billionaires while selling optimism to the public, so that in retrospect his flashy innovation summits don't look like progress at all but board meetings for the future digital overlords who would end up owning nearly every corner of American existence.
2016 delivered a historic victory to President Trump, defeating Hillary Clinton. And President Obama and his team, their goal was to essentially not accept the decision of the American people and to use this manufactured, politicized intelligence as a means to enact what would become essentially a years-long coup.
Tulsi rips into Obama's favorite shield of blaming obstruction, reminding everyone that while Republicans fought him at every turn, the deeper truth is in what he prioritized when he actually held power, because instead of structural reform he delivered half measures, instead of cracking down on corruption he handed out golden parachutes, and instead of bold leadership he leaned on excuses, which exposes the irony of a man who sold himself as an anti-establishment crusader, but ended up as the establishment's smoothest salesman, spending 8 years telling the public what they wanted to hear while keeping the machine humming, wars dragging on, bankers thriving, the rich richer, the poor drowning in platitudes. And once Tulsi tears back that curtain, Obama's legacy doesn't shine. It collapses into the unmistakable image of a politician who promised to fight the system but perfected the art of serving it.